What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Melanin Militant. This is a word on the street edition of the show, and I'm going to cover all things coronavirus related. Originally, I was going to do this episode with a friend, but when we recorded, I ran into some technical difficulties, so I'm just going to knock this video out by myself. As always, before I get started, guys, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and check the link down below if you like my black-owned apparel that I have on. So, COVID-19, aka the Rona, aka the Chinese virus, aka
Coronavirus! Coronavirus!
whatever you want to call it. Now, I can admit, when we first started to hear all this pandemonium about it, I'd say late February, early March, I was one of them people saying that this is not a big deal. This is going to blow over in a matter of weeks, because every so often they say that there's something coming through that's going to wipe out all of us, whether it was SARS, Zika virus, swine flu. It just seems like every 2-3 years or so, there's something that's coming through, some type of sickness, some type of illness that's supposed to, wipe out half the Earth's population. But as we can see, that's actually not the case. The amount of people who are actually contracting the virus seems to be going up every day. If you look at places like Italy, it seems like Italy is having the worst time with this outbreak. I don't really understand what's going on with Italy. It just seems like, I don't know, maybe they have more elderly people and that's why they're having so many more cases and so many more deaths. It seems like in the US, our number of cases are going up on the daily. I now know people personally who have it. A friend of mine's cousin, somebody from work, actually a couple people from work, my girlfriend's cousin, so it's really starting to hit home, and it just seems like this is actually a lot more serious than we initially thought it to be. I will say though, I still think people are overreacting with the panic buying, all the paper towels and toilet paper. I don't really understand the whole premise behind all the paper towel and toilet paper buying that people are doing. I guess because they're thinking they'll be cooped up in the house, but still, to me, all the panic buying is a little bit much. And then even the people wearing the masks and gloves, y'all really look ridiculous. I hope y'all know that. If you listen to what the CDC has said, they've told us that the masks and gloves don't really do us any good. Of course, you should be taking precautions just like you would during any regular flu season. You should be washing your hands and making sure you're not touching your face and using antibacterial wipes on things that you're using on a regular basis, like workstations at your job or whatever, things like that. Just the simple things. When you're grabbing for a door handle, use a paper towel or maybe use your elbow. Make sure you're covering your sneeze, into your elbow and things like that. That's just, regular everyday stuff you're supposed to be doing. But the gloves and the masks and all that other nonsense, that's, to me, y'all just doing the most now. As far as the government and what they've done with this whole pandemic, I don't want to say this is Donald Trump's fault. I don't want to say this is his administration's fault. There is, I think, some blame to be had. People are saying that he got rid of the pandemic response team. That's not exactly true. He did get rid of the senior director of the National Security Council's Office of Global Health Security and Biodefense. And in November of 2019, the Center for Strategic and International Studies recommended bringing back this position as one of the 7 major ways to protect the American public from a global health threat. So obviously that's something that maybe they should have listened to. Maybe this would have lessened the blow of Corona once it hit the US. So I think there is a little bit of responsibility on the president and his administration, especially when you look back at interviews and press releases or whatever you call them that he did in January and February. He's saying things like it'll go away, we've got it under control, and he was even quoted as saying it's going to go away one day, it's going to disappear, it's like a miracle. But as we can see, we're now in a pandemic. Jobs are shut down, people are stuck in the house. It didn't go away as easily as he thought. But there is also some blame to be on China, absolutely. Probably most of the blame on them for what they were doing in the city of Wuhan with the food markets, having these animals stacked the way they did, and the way it's just a breeding ground for contamination and all types of bad things that can happen in an environment that they had in these food markets. Luckily, it hasn't affected me too much personally. The biggest change probably is that I'm doing online classes now for the rest of the semester. The school is like completely shut down. At first, they were just saying we're going to do online classes, but the campus will be open for you to go and, you know, speak to instructors or use the library, use like computer labs or whatever, the tutoring center, things like that. But now they completely shut it down and everything is just flat out online. I've always been against online classes, but I mean, that's just something I gotta roll with. Nothing I can really do about it. I'm still going to work every day, thankfully. I feel bad for the people who aren't going to work, sitting at home, just going stir crazy, just staring at the wall. Especially for the people who aren't going to work and aren't getting paid. So hopefully we get this whole thing under control and people can go back to work and people can stop losing their minds. As far as the stimulus package, I gotta admit, I didn't think this was gonna go through. I didn't think Congress was gonna come to an agreement. I thought that they would debate back and forth, and by the time the pandemic is over, we never see a single dollar from the federal government. I thought they would just spend weeks and weeks pointing the finger at each other. The main reason I felt that way is because they always seem to have money for big corporations and, you know, bailing out Wall Street like they did in 2008. You know, the Federal Reserve pumped $1.5 trillion, I think it was, into Wall Street, into the stock market. But when it comes to sending money to regular people, when it comes to black people talking about reparations, all of a sudden, where's this money going to come from? Well, how are we going to pay for that? When it comes to universal health care or free college, you know, that's always the question: is how are we gonna pay for that? We don't have the money for that. And I'm not saying that I am for universal health care or for free college. I've never even really taken a stance on those things. It's just that whenever the conversation is about helping American people, all of a sudden the money ain't there. But like I said, I was wrong. The deal was met, and I don't know if Donald Trump has signed it yet, but it looks like it'll be a $2 trillion bill consisting of $1,200 checks for qualifying citizens, and they'll also receive $500 per child. And I think it was the right thing to do. Like I said, they always seem to have the money for big corporations and Wall Street and in the elite. So this was the right thing to do to help those people that I mentioned who aren't going to work and aren't getting paid. Especially, you got to think about people like restaurant servers and small businesses who don't have enough capital to pay their employees while they're not turning a profit right now. All in all, like I said in the beginning of this video, I do think we as a whole overlooked Corona. Maybe we should have taken it a little bit more seriously. Maybe the Trump administration should have listened to the health experts to slow the spread and to lessen the blow once it did arrive to the U.S. That way we wouldn't end up in a pandemic with businesses shut down and people not able to work, people not able to go to school, things like that. But we're gonna look back in the original recording. Like I said, me and my boy Jason, we recorded this episode, but there was some issues with the video. But he made a good point. In about 10 to 20 years, we're gonna look back at this, and this is gonna be like something that our kids read about. You know, they're gonna be asking us questions about Corona and how things were. We're gonna be telling them how people were, you know, buying loads of paper towels and how people were stocking up on guns and ammo because they thought, you know, the whole world was coming to an end. So it was something that should have been taken a little more seriously. Hopefully we don't end up going through something like this again. Thankfully, these people who are in need of it will receive these checks. And I'll just be glad when all of this is over, when things go back to normal. You know, I had a trip planned back to like how it's affecting me. I had a trip planned for my 25th birthday coming up in May. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. You know, me and my girl were trying to go to Atlanta for my birthday. Don't know if that'll happen because my birthday is in early May. Who knows if travel bans will be lifted by then. So, you know, it is a lot more serious than we initially thought it to be. So hopefully we don't end up in this situation again. We don't end up with another pandemic. And even if we do, hopefully it doesn't last as long. Hopefully we don't have as many deaths and as many people contracting whatever illness and whatever sickness it is. And like I said, I just can't wait for this to be over. So that's all I got for you guys. Just want to give you my little take on Corona and all things related. Let me know in the comments how this has affected you. Let me know your thoughts on maybe who is to blame, whether the Chinese government or the Trump administration, all those things. Again, check the link in the description down below to see where I got my black-owned apparel. And thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you next time.